Okay, good evening. Tonight's Parshas Emor. Parshas Emor is loaded. It is loaded with so many different ideas and ideals about Kedusha in general. And the highlight and the central point of Parshas Emor is really the Moadim, is really the holidays. It's really one of the three Parshios in the entire Torah that talk about the holidays themselves at length. If you want to know anything about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, this is the Parsha to go into. And I thought it's appropriate. We're in the middle of Sefirah HaOmer. I'm not going to say what day it is. I haven't counted yet. Just that's a reminder to count. Maybe, if you remind me, we'll count together after the shir has concluded. But it's important to talk, what is Sefirah HaOmer? What is Sefirah HaOmer all about? And I'm not going to lie, I didn't come across this. But, I thought of this as I was preparing this Drasha. A quote from, maybe two of our Chaverim, maybe some, I'm not going to ask you, I hope some of you probably recognize who these people are, right? Our friend, good old friend, Simon Garfunkel. And I thought this related, and we'll get back to it, that I think this song, Sounds of Silence, is related to Sefirah HaOmer, the time period that we are in, really the bridge between Pesach and Matan Torah. Hello, darkness, my old friend. If I sang it, you know how that would go. I've come to talk with you again because the vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping. And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sounds of silence. And I believe within these words, maybe these holy words of Simon and Garfunkel, have within there a deep message for what I think Chazal were telling us about Sefirah HaOmer, about a deep message about Sefirah HaOmer. And if you look through the psukim about Sefirah HaOmer, you're going to come up with a lot of different questions. And I'm going to just share two major questions that really bothered me this year when I was looking through the parsha. Number one is, the word Omer is emphasized over and over and over again, right? It's called Sefirah HaOmer. And the word Omer is very unclear what it means. Really, an Omer is a measurement, Asiras Ha'efa. It's just a measurement. And when you say you're bringing the Korban HaOmer, it's almost like you're saying you're bringing the Korban HaGalon or the Korban HaLiter. It really means nothing. It's just a measurement. So why would our whole mitzvah of Sefirah HaOmer be referred to by this word, the Omer, number one? But more than that, the bracha that we make, right? Al Sefirah HaOmer, that encapsulates what the mitzvah is all about, has the word Omer in there, which implies that this word has, is the key to unlock what this mitzvah is all about. And if it's just a measurement, as the Torah puts it, then what's the Torah telling us, and what is this mitzvah about? Secondly, and I think this is more fundamental than that question, is when do we begin counting Sefirah HaOmer? We begin counting Sefirah HaOmer on the 16th of Nisan. Tes Zayin Nisan, which is very strange, because if we are saying that Sefirah HaOmer is the mitzvah, is the bridge that connects two holidays of Pesach and Shavuos, and it's like the Chol HaMoed that connects the two holidays, then why don't we count Sefirah from the first day of Pesach? If it's really fully a bridge, why are we counting from day 2 of Passover, from the 16th of Nisan, right? It would make more sense to count from the first day. So those are my two questions. Number one, the Omer, why is that the holiday? It's a measurement. And secondly, why do we start counting on Tes Zayin Nisan? And if you notice the way it's framed, it doesn't say the date of when you should count, but what does the Torah say? Usfartem lachem mimocharas haShabbos. You shall begin counting from the day after Shabbos. And for those that know, this is a major machlokes back in the day between the Sadducees and the Pharisees, the Tzukim and the Prushim, as to when exactly you began counting Sefirah. We say that Mimocharas HaShabbos means that we begin counting Sefirah the day after Pesach. It's such a strange way to say it, right? We don't even call it the 16th. We call it Mimocharas HaShabbos. What's going on here with Sefirah HaOmer? And the way we're going to unpack these questions about Sefirah is by an esoteric comment of the Arizal. The Arizal, Rav Yitzchak Luria, was one of the great Mekubalim, or really the Mekubal, that brought practical Kabbalah to our day. And he says, right, everyone's been to a shul in Tzfas, right? It's a beautiful, there's the Ashkenazi shul, the Sephardi shul, all these different stories about the shul itself. Many of us have been to the Arizal's mikvah, the coldest mikvah in the world. He's buried right there, right next to Yosef Karo. And the Meshiloch, the Ishbitzer Rebbe, quotes the Arizal. And he says like this, Ki Belel Rishon, he says in the first night of Pesach, we don't count the first night of Pesach because the first night of Pesach, Niftach Ur Gadol V'Yakar LiYisrael. There was a huge light that was opened up for the Jewish people, a giant light that projected upon the Jewish people, upon Klal Yisrael, that night, as they left Egypt, as they left Mitzrayim, V'chol Tov Hashem Yisbarach Leineim V'achar Kach Nisna. And then when they left, when they finished leaving, the lights went out. The lights went out. V'lachein b'leil sheni. Therefore, on the second night, what does he say? Nishar tzaka b'leiv. What is left over on the second night? A cracks in your heart, a cry in your heart. Now, what in the world is the Meshiloach quoting in the name of the Arizal? What is Arizal teaching us? The first night of Pesach, huge light. After we left Mitzrayim, lights are shut off, right? Nobody's home, like all of our shuls. Unfortunately, the lights are off. And then all that was left in our heart is a tzaka b'leiv, a pain, a yearning in our hearts. What is the Arizal saying? So, the Be'er Yosef, I asked Rabbi Yudin once, what's your favorite sefer? What's your go-to sefer on the Parsha? And I think Rabbi Yudin is still on the line. He has to give a shir soon, but he told me his go-to sefer is the Be'er Yosef al HaTorah. The Be'er Yosef is Rav Yosef Salant. He was a Rav in Yerushalayim. He was, I think, a little bit older than Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. And he has a beautiful sefer al HaTorah. And he says something amazing. He says something really very special about Sfiras Omer. That when I first saw this, it changed the way that I viewed Sfiras Omer forever. He says, Rabbi Salvation quotes this, or Tzadok Holomi Lubin, they all quote the same idea. If you want to know the depth of the meaning of a word in the Torah, you have to go to the first time that word is quoted in the Torah. So where does the word Omer come from? The word Omer is first quoted in the context of Shemos 16:16. It's first quoted in the context of the mitzvah of the man, of the giving of the man. When the Jewish people were first in the desert, they were hungry, they were starving, and they needed food. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them, and what did he give them? An Omer l'Golgoles. Each one got a measurement of an Omer per head of the household. Mispar nafshosechem ish asher ba'olo tikachu. One Omer per person did they get, right? That's the word Omer. The first reference to the Omer in the Torah is the man. So says the Be'er Yosef. Whoa, take it one step further. Take it one step further. The Jewish people started eating the man in the desert. By the way, some say that was Lag BaOmer. We're not going to get into that, when they started eating. But when did they finish consuming the man? When did they finish consuming the man? So if you look at Sefer Yehoshua, this is unbelievable. We don't learn enough Tanakh. Sefer Yehoshua teaches us that the Jewish people, Vayochlu me'avor ha'aretz, mimachras ha'pesach, matzos v'kaloi be'etzem yom hazeh. What happened? They started eating from the land. They went into Eretz Yisrael on the 10th of Nisan, the Jewish people in Sefer Yehoshua. They crossed the Yarden on the 10th of Nisan. They started eating from the land only on the 16th. Why did they start only eating from the land on the 16th? Because the Gemara in Kiddushin tells us they still had man left over. They still had man left over from the desert until the 16th. On the 16th, they had no more food left. They had no more food left, and they had to start using the food that they found in Eretz Yisrael. The wheat, the barley, whatever they could make, the bread, whatever they could make in the land, that's what they started to eat. Bamba. That's what they ate. They ate the bamba in Eretz Yisrael starting on the 16th. It was kitnios. Kitnios wasn't established then. It was all good. But the language is mimachres haPesach. So says the Be'er Yosef. Says the Be'er Yosef. If you weren't following until now, don't worry about it. We're going to put it all together right now. Says the Be'er Yosef. Number one, what is this mitzvah Sefirah Omer all about? He says the mitzvah Sefirah Omer is a thank you, is a recognition of the man. It's a thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving us the man in the desert for 40 years. He says that's why it is called Omer. Omer is a throwback. It's a reference. It's a hyperlink to the first Omer in the Torah. The first Omer in the Torah is the man. The man was given there. That's why the emphasis is on the Omer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you for giving us the man in the desert. Why do we begin counting on the second day of Pesach? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that the second day of Pesach was going to be the first day where we would no longer have man in our new lives. When we, this new life that the Jewish people had to have as we started working the land on our own, started having a new, different type of relationship. We left the cocoon and God's home. We left that and had to go out on our own, just like young children go out on their own in their own apartments, had to cook for themselves, fend for themselves. So the Jewish people, on the 16th of Pesach, 16th of Nisan, in that first year, when we entered the land of Israel, we needed to cook for ourselves. We needed to find our own food. We needed to toil the land. And that happened on the 16th. So Hashem says, in the future, the 16th, you may start forgetting about the man. So I'm going to give you a mitzvah. That mitzvah is Sefirah Omer, the counting of the Omer, to remind us about the man. To remind us about the man. And what's the man all about? The essence of the man. If you look at the word man, the man is spelled with two letters, mem nun. Mem nun. What other word is the shorish of mem nun? That is the word emuna. The word emuna. Ultimately, what man gave us, it wasn't just physical sustenance, it was spiritual perspective in life. Every single day, the Jewish people, when they went to sleep, right, a husband and wife, they went to sleep at night in the desert. No, it was year 38. I don't know. They were in Kadesh. They were in the Kadesh in the desert, and they had no money for the next day. How were they going to survive? They believed that Hashem was going to provide for them in the desert. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to provide for them. And guess what? The next morning, they found food out on their front doorstep. And if it wasn't on their front doorstep, it was a little bit out in the field, and they went to go get that food. The essence of the mitzvah, the role of the man, was this reliance on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this dependence upon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ultimately, that concluded. That dependence and that relationship changed once we entered the land of Israel. We no longer were getting the food packages dropped off, from Shemayim. Things changed. Things got a little bit darker. That relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu became a little bit different once we entered the land of Israel on the 16th of Nisan and we ran out of our food. But I think I want to take this a step further. And I want to tie this back into what we said earlier in the name of the Meishi Loach, the name of the Arizal. Says the Arizal, why don't we begin counting Sefirah Omer on the first day? Because the first day was a huge light. See, the way the Sfarim HaKadoshim explain it is that the first day of Pesach was completely HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing everything. We, the Jewish people, did nothing. He took care of us 100%. He pushed us along to get us out into the desert. He did everything for us, the miracles, the 10 makos. Everything was done through Yad Hashem. The second day, silence. Hashem wasn't there. Hashem wasn't there in the same way. He wasn't hovering over us in the same exact way that he was there before. Nachakach Nistam, says the Arizal, the lights went out. It was no longer big, flashy miracles with grasshoppers coming and boils showing up and frogs jumping everywhere. That was no longer happening. Once the Jewish people entered the desert, there was a new wave of relationship and connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We needed to rely upon him, but he wasn't overtly there in the same way that he was there in the times of Mitzrayim. It was very different. And we had to create a new reliance and dependence upon HaKadosh Baruch Hu when we entered the vastness and the darkness of the desert. Whereas Mitzrayim, we saw so much light. When we entered the desert, we experienced darkness. There was a tza'aka in the belev. There was something dormant, a cry in our hearts for this relationship that we yearned. And the Nesivo Shalom says that he asked his Rebbe, his father, about this. Why would a Kadosh Baruch Hu do this to us? And he says, because Kadosh Baruch Hu, what he did to us is the following. What he did was, he says, sometimes, you know what he did? He put us on top of the mountain. You want to climb Mount Everest? So he said, he took us, the Jewish people, and he put us on top of Mount Everest. But the next day, he took us back down, and he put us at the foot of the mountain. And he said, now you got to do it yourselves. Now you have to earn it. Now you have to train, and now you have to get back there on your own. And ultimately, that's what Sefirah Omer is all about. Sefirah Omer is about creating this reliance on Hashem, that we need HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our lives. That's what the message of the man was. Every single day in the desert, we got Parnasa from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Parnasa came from him. It came from him. And then all of a sudden, the lights were off. The lights shut off when we entered the land of Israel. And in the first Passover, as we celebrated with the Korban Pesach, the next day, the food was gone. The cupboards were bare. We had nothing left. And again, we had to forge and create a new relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's really the message of the Omer. The Ramchal, in an unbelievable piece, that I'm probably not doing it justice. Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto explains that there's always two levels to Geula. There's always two levels to redemption. There's Zechira and Pekida, which are two words which we would say synonymous for remembering. There is one moment where he says Zechira is, Hashem remembers us, and he turns the lights on. Everything is moving. There's motion, there's constant movement. You see God. He's there in front of you. Zekeli Vanveyu. We experience a Kadosh Baruch Hu right in front of our own eyes. But then there's Pekida. There's the slowness, the stillness, the silence in between those loud noises, in between those loud moments in our lives. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu is there with us, but it's a different type of relationship. It's the Pekida. Hashem is opening up to us. We know he's there, but we have to try a little bit harder to see him in those moments. And that's really Sefirah Omer. It's bookended by two very holy days in our calendar. Two huge glory days. Days of tremendous amount of life and light and tremendous amount of miracles. You have Pesach on one end, and you have Har Sinai Maimon, Har Sinai Matan Torah on the other. And you have Sefirah Omer in the middle. And Sefirah Omer in the middle are the sounds of silence. Those moments of lots of light in between the moments of darkness, the moments of challenge, the moments where we don't necessarily see God in an overt way. We don't feel his presence in the same way that we feel him in Leil HaSeder. We just don't. It's not possible. And really, Sefirah Omer is the roadmap for life. Life is not necessarily about Pesach and Matan Torah. Those are very special moments. We all have great moments in our lives. The birth of a new child or grandchild, a simcha, a wedding, where we experience, getting that new promotion. Unbelievable moments in our lives where we're inspired, we're motivated to do more. Greatness. Maybe it's our first siyum, our first moment where we can learn with our grandchildren. They're very special moments in our lives. But bookended by those are the sounds of silence, those moments, those still moments in our lives. What are those moments like? Do we give meaning to those moments? And that's where Sefirah Omer lies. Sefirah Omer is there for us to give meaning to the days that we're in right now. The Regina Rebbe says something beautiful. Usfartem lachem mimacha ras Hashabbos. We begin counting from the day after Shabbos. Shabbos is a very holy day. But when do we begin counting? machar, after Shabbos, after the holiness subsides, after things are quieter, when things are a little bit more dull or a little bit more boring. That's when life begins, and it's our challenge to find God and find meaning in those moments in our lives. And I feel like there's no greater message of this message of Sefirah Omer than in the time that we find ourselves right now. Eliyahu Navi, Kadosh Baruch Hu told Eliyahu Navi, where are you going to find me? You're going to find me in the cold madma daka, in the moments of silence in life, right? And for so many of us, as busy as it is, and if you have children at home with yeshivas, Zoom, running half of your day and running nonstop, and there's a lot of anxiety about what's going to be and where we're going to be and where our parnas is going to come from. What decision is my boss going to make about my job? I don't know what's going to happen. Is this going to last for another 6 months? Am I going to be able to handle this? What's going to be Pesach? What's going to be Rosh Hashanah? What's going to be Yom Kippur? We don't know. Am I going to get sick? I watch the news all day. We don't know. And Sefirah Omer is there to hold our hands and remind us, machar mimachar Shabbos, tomorrow. Tomorrow we believe that tomorrow there will be light again. But in the moments that we have right now, Hashem is with us, holding our hands through these moments. And I'll just conclude that one of the most challenging things for me during this time is to daven. I thrive on davening b'tzibur. It is much more inspiring for me. It is much more challenging for me to daven b'yechidas, especially trying to find a time when, it's a little bit quiet in my house. And that's challenging. It's challenging to find those moments. But I find that tefillah today is more important and more necessary than ever before. Life for such a long time has been, it's predictable more or less. People have challenges. People have, different moments in their lives. They're very hard and difficult and moments of simcha. But the world in general has been very, very predictable, for the past 70 years. And all of a sudden, we're in a life that there's a lot of instability. There's a lot of instability in life. What's going to be? And that's where we need tefillah more than ever. That's where we need of greater reliance on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to try to deepen our faith and our emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu in ways that maybe we never needed before in our lives. To daven a little bit more every single day. To maybe just not even davening in the context of tefillah. Walking outside in our backyards, taking a moment and talking to Hashem, asking him for real advice and real eitzah and real help during this time, because we're stressed out. We have anxiety. We just need help to get through the moments in our lives. And I give everybody a bracha. As we continue to count Sefirah all together, we take, just like Sefirah is, it's one day at a time. And I have to thank the mitzvah of Sefirah Omer, because without Sefirah, I am not sure I would know what day it is today. My kids, have to remind me. My iPhone reminds me. I have no idea what day it is. But it's Sefirah that reminds us and keeps us motivated and keeps us moving day by day, shlab by shlab, because we know we're going to make it to Matan Torah. And we're going to be together, whether we're separate right now, but we're together. I feel the achdus, I feel the connectedness, and I feel the closeness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in those silent moments in our lives. So I wish everybody a good Shabbos. It's so good to see everybody. I will unmute everybody in a moment. This way we have the opportunity to say good Shabbos.